In this video, we'll talk about Chrome Dev Tools. I alluded to it last video, but we'll go ahead and get started this video talking about the Chrome Dev Tools. So you can get to the Chrome Dev Tools anytime you're in Chrome, and in fact, any browser will have its own developers tools. But we're using Chrome in this case, and I can get to it from Chrome by going to these three dots and more tools and developer tools. Or as you see there that I have a shortcut Control-Shift-I, and I can go to some element. And it doesn't matter what web page you're on. You can go to any web page and see the developer's tools on it, unless they have it encrypted in such a way that you can't. But in general, you can. So I'm going to pick this button just for the sake of picking something and right-click on it. And I can get there by going to Inspect. I can get to the same Control-Shift-I, and that would have that particular button selected. So if I wanted to make changes to look at something with that button, then I could inspect that particular element. I can just hit Control-Shift-I, and it will bring up the DevTools. Or I can use F12, the function key F12, if you're more inclined to do that. I'm actually inclined to use the Control-Shift-I unless I want to get to something in particular. So I am going to go to this button. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to come to this body and make some changes just for the fun of it. Now, the changes that I make in the Chrome DevTools will only change the design, or will change things only for this particular instance. So if you refresh, then it's going to go away. Those changes will go away. But it's kind of fun to see and test and see what you can make happen here. So if I change the background color of the body, like this is the D2L body, if I change the background color to, let's say, orange, then that's going to change it to orange. It looks like it has some gradient already set on it, and that's fine. But I can see how easy it is to kind of make some changes. And notice if I start typing a letter, it shows me some options of colors that I could change. I can use here RGB or hex code or a name of a color. So that Alice blue maybe. Or maybe you decide that you want it to be something entirely different. But this is just something that you can change easily. Oh, you can also just kind of select a color. So I can select that color and see that it changes. Again, this is just for this instance. I'm not changing the source code, of course. I'm just changing what I see for this particular instance. Okay, well, that's kind of a fun color. I like it anyway. So I'm going to stick with that. What if I changed the margin? Oh, so that was the background color. Notice the background color is, well, the background color. What if I change the margin? Let's change that to a size. I can use a relative size or an absolute size, and we'll talk about this more as the semester goes on. But let's make it significant so we can see the difference. See, 50 pixels brought that down and in from the left and right, and of course it would be from the bottom as well. So that was that change. I'm just trying to make you able to see, whoops, those changes. But it was set at 0, so I'll just reset it there. And actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and leave it at 50. And what if I changed the padding to also be 50 pixels? So we'll talk more about what the the margin and the padding are, but basically notice that it added more space around the entire body of this this page. Let's see, and now let's look at, you know what, let's look at this header. And in the navigation, and notice I'm just opening things by clicking on the little arrows to their left. So I can look at all of the HTML that's here, or look at all of the CSS to the right. And, well, let's see. This is probably more complicated than we have to have it. I'm going to go to this page. Well, I want to select this tools. So I'm going to right click and inspect it. Instead of looking for it, I can just right click on it and inspect it. And I noticed that it's an H1. That just means that it's a header. It's inside this div, but it doesn't really matter where it is. But I want to make a change to it. So instead of calling that tools, I'm going to say that it has Chrome Dev Tools. It has browsers, and it has text editors. Oh, and it has graphic or graphic editing tools. But so I can make that change. As soon as I click off of it, it actually made the change. But notice that it made the change here. It made the color change, but those are only for this instance. It can't actually change the source code of this page or of any other page using Chrome DevTools. But that's how easy it is to change some text or change what you're working on. Notice if I go to the element style of this and I change, let's say I want to change the background color of just this, this title to, well, let's change it to blue. It changes the background color for that particular page or that particular item. And then if I want to set a height of, let's say, 200 pixels, and I'm just going in here where the element style is. So I have selected that element. I used the right click. I went to it. I used the right click and inspect. I have it selected over here, and I'm making my changes where it says element.style. So that's the style of this particular element. I'm going to change the width to be 300 pixels. And let's change for this one, because we have that blue background and we can't really see the text color very well. Let's change that to white. So now I've made all of those changes, and I'll notice that the changes have been made over here in my HTML as well. It shows the style changes, but I actually made the changes in the element style. Let me go back to, sorry. I made the changes in the element style, but then it shows them in HTML. With that showing, that should still be showing. Anyway, if it's not showing, I can make any other changes. Or if I, oh, it looks like I made the changes on the div. There it is. Okay, I made the changes on the div instead of on the H1. The div is just the element that surrounds the H1. If I had just the H1 selected, then in there I can change something different. I can change the background color to be orange. So that's what it looks like to have the background color of the H1 changed, the background color of the div that is holding that H1 changed to blue, and the background color of the entire body to be changed with this pink gradient. You can do a lot of changes. You can see a lot of changes using the dev tools. It can be fun to make these changes and see what would happen if you tried this before going to going through the effort of making the changes and saving it as it is. But often we use these dev tools for troubleshooting, but we don't have anything to troubleshoot yet, but we'll be using those as we move along the semester. So that's an intro to Chrome DevTools. If I asked you to change the background colors and turn that in, give me a screenshot of it, then this is what I would want from you. I would want a copy of this screenshot. So you can go to your snipping tool if you're using Windows, or some other screenshot tool that you might have on your operating system. I would go to snip this entire page, and let me see there some changes that you made under element style. Let me see if there are changes that I can see over here. Make sure you also have this page open so that I could see there that you changed the margin and the padding, and of course the background color. You changed background colors all along there. So let me know if you have any questions, but that is an introduction to Chrome DevTools.